Welcome, Noel.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. As part of LGMA's Oral History Project, we honour the distinguished career of Mr. Noel Gorrie, a Fellow of LGMA, whose remarkable 39 years of service in Queensland local government exemplify dedication, integrity and leadership. This year marks 55 years for Noel as an active LGMA member. For 55 years, which includes his award as LGMA Manager of the Year in 2003. Now enjoying a much-deserved retirement, Noel's journey began at just 15 years old with the Esk Shire Council, where under the guidance of respected mentors, he discovered his passion for local government. Noel worked hard to learn all he could about local government management in those early years, even if part of his duties included topping up the inkwells on the boss's desk, boiling the kettle for smoko on a metho burner in the strong room, and sweeping the office floors. Something must have inspired him throughout this because he decided that local government was a career he wanted to pursue. Perhaps it was Dick Irwin's and Eileen McCarthy's influence, or perhaps it was Harold Jacobs' encouragement, or maybe the fact that his father served as a councillor for 18 years and his grandfather served for 22 years. His determination and commitment to learning saw him achieve top honours in accountancy, placing first in Queensland and second in Australia twice, before qualifying as a Fellow of the Australian Society of Certified Practicing Accountants. From these achievements, there was no stopping him. Noel steadily rose through the ranks, Deputy Shire Clerk at Emerald, Shire Clerk at Mundubbera, and later Deputy Town Clerk at Maryborough City Council. In 1983, he was appointed Town Clerk and City Administrator at Maryborough, a role now known as the Chief Executive Officer. Throughout his career, Noel has been admired for his management style, grounded in teamwork, trust and respect. He has worked seamlessly with mayors of differing political persuasions, always upholding the highest standards of integrity and competence. Respected by councillors, peers and colleagues alike, has been recognised as being progressive, proactive and unwavering in his commitment to excellence. His leadership has guided the councils he served through major challenges, earning the respect of elected members across the region. Beyond his professional achievements, Noel's success is strengthened by the support of his lovely wife, Christine, and the two children, Karen and Brendan. Without further ado, welcome Noel.
Thank you, Carly. Yeah.
So we're just going to go through the questions that we have prepared for you, and then we'll just go from there. Is there anything else you'd like to add to what I just said, or?
Well, probably just a correction. My local government service is almost 46 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Apologies
for that.
I started in January 1961 and finished in December 2006. So it's almost 46 years. Yeah.
Wonderful. You don't get that much anymore, do you?
You
People
don't.
stay in role for so long.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Okay, so we'll start with how you got into local government and where you started, where you went. I know I touched a bit on that, but if you'd want to expand that a little bit more, that would be really great if you want to do that.
Yeah, that'd be fine, yeah. As you said, I started in Esk, in local government. But as you said too, my father and grandfather were in the council, so I actually knew a little bit about local government. And in my early days, I was going to take an accountancy, become an accountant and take that track. And 15 years old in those days, you sort of had to make decisions. And I was actually going to go to do senior and go and live with my grandparents who'd retired and they were in Redcliffe, and go to school there for senior, sub-senior. But this job came up and got advertised, and Mum and Dad didn't pressure me at all, but they said if I wanted to, I could have a go. So I did, and was successful. And as I said, I'd previously known the Shire Clerk and the Deputy Shire Clerk through going to functions with my father. So it wasn't hard to be able to sort of blend in. And when I got there, I liked it. And I was doing jobs that I didn't even know existed. I think that, well, it mustn't have been too bad because I was there for about 9.5 years at Esk, and I did like it. When I first started, I was 15, so no car, no nothing, and Esk and Toogoolawah was about 12 miles apart. So I used to go by train down on a Monday morning to Esk, and my bike was, I had a push bike, and it was under the Shire Clerk's house, Dick Irwin's house, and I'd then go to a place I had private boarding for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights. And my dad then came down on a Friday afternoon, picked me up and took me home, and I spent the weekend at home. So.
That's dedication, isn't it?
It is.
You know, these days it's like, oh, Mum, can you drop me off, please?
But so I had a bush bike to get around until I could get a licence after I got 17. Yeah. Then I got a car and did it myself. I used to drive then from Toogoolawah to Esk every day.
Wow.
But that was good too, because I had friends and I had people I used to take. There was another guy started work from Toogoolawah in Esk, and he used to come with me. And there was a woman who had to go to Esk to work, not at the council, but at one of the, it was the co-op, which was a bit of haberdashery and resting, and as well as grocery and all that sort of stuff. And so she came down with me too. So it was fun.
Yeah. Carpooling. Oh, fabulous.
That's right, yeah. So that was Esk,
Yep.
and as you said, I went to Emerald as deputy. I qualified as an accountant in 1970, and becoming an accountant, you could become a deputy Shire Clerk, and so I went to Emerald with Keith Purdy, and he was very good to me and to Christine too. We got on very well with him and his wife. I stayed there about 3.5 years, and then went to Mundubbera as Shire Clerk. Stayed there for about 4 years, but as the Shire Clerk, you know, it was my first real job as boss, which was very interesting. As I said, 4 years there. Then I went to Maryborough in 1978, and I was deputy town clerk there for about 5.5 years. And then I was the town clerk. They called it town clerk and city administrator. Officially, all the stuff was signed off as Noel Gorrie city administrator, unless it was legal, and then it had to be signed off town clerk, city administrator. And then, unfortunately, politics got into things, didn't they? And the name changed, and it became a CEO. It's a bit sad. The town clerk has historical significance. If you refer to the Bible, it's in the Acts of the Apostles, chapter 19, verse 35, where the town clerk quietened the crowd. Now, this is a long time ago. I think the crowd had been stirred up and rioting and carried on for a few hours. I'm not quite sure, but it may have been an elected member stirred them up. Who knows?
Never.
Never. But I was a bit sorry to have the town clerk taken away. But I also think it was political, like political in the state government area, where they decided no, they wanted to change everything, and that's the time they changed chairman to become mayors at the same time. Yeah. So
wonderful.
Yeah, that's a bit of a crash course.
Very big crash course. Very interesting as well. Yeah, thank you for that, Noel.
Yeah.
What are your who are your role models?
Yeah, you talked about role models. Number one had to be my father, because he and I got on very well, and even while I was still going to school, I was actually working for him. He had a grocer shop, but he also was an auctioneer and a commission agent and a licence value and all that sort of thing. And I used to do typing and all that sort of thing that I'd learned through the school. And he was great for me to work with, and he taught me a heck of a lot. And then, of course, Eileen McCarthy, you mentioned, she was, Dick Irwin was the Shire Clerk, but Eileen McCarthy, it was Miss McCarthy to me, by the way. It was always Miss McCarthy. And she was the Deputy Shire Clerk. But she was great, and we stayed friends with her for years, and even after I left, we stayed friends with her. She taught me a lot. I think she may have been the one who actually got me appointed there, because I'd made a mistake and taken shorthand when I went to, and she loved shorthand. She really, because she took all the minutes. She went to all the council meetings and she took minutes and all this sort of stuff, and so that meant that when she was away, I had to go, and so I got introduced to council meetings quite young, and I sort of took stuff in shorthand and that sort of thing as well, and I had to, Dick Irwin used to dictate letters to me and things like that. But
I wish I continued shorthand. It's very handy.
Yeah. But you sort of, I haven't continued on afterwards, but it was very handy, and I think that's what got me the job in the first place, that I actually had that inkling of Pitman's shorthand. But Eileen, or Miss McCarthy to me, was great. Then at Emerald was Keith Purdy, was the Shire Clerk, and he again took me under his wing because I was still pretty young and a bit raw, and only ever been to sort of Esk, very small places. Emerald wasn't much bigger anyhow. But you get a great introduction to all sorts of things, local government in the smaller places. And then I came across Herb Oliver. He was the Shire Clerk at Callan. And while I was in Mundubra, he was the Shire Clerk at Callan. I came across him and I started to meet him and his wife Mary at various sort of functions. And he was great. I admired him because he was so down the line, and as far as sort of protocols and things were concerned, he was excellent. He was excellent. And would you believe, he actually came to work for me as a deputy in Maryborough sometime later. So how would you be? Eh?
You never know, right?
You never know. And then, of course, Harold Jacobs was the deputy local government director when I first started. And he was great mates with Eileen McCarthy, and I quite often got to go and see Harold Jacobs at work, and he always had time to see me and talk to me and this sort of thing. And he was really good. I liked him. And of course Gary Keller, would you believe, he worked there, and I think my first introduction to Gary was he and I and somebody else had to do a presentation at one of the branch meetings of would have been local government administration then, and that's when I first he got in touch with me because he was working in the department, and it was about accounting and uniform charts of account. And we've remained friends for many years after that too. It's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. And he left. Oh well, as you probably know, he left department and went to Logan and ended up as the Shire Clerk at Logan Shire Council at that stage, and he's a consultant now.
Fabulous.
So that's about it. Role model, I think.
You're so blessed to have these people take you under your wing when you're young, and to keep that relationship going throughout your career. It's very, very special. It's priceless, actually, I think. So next question, what changes did you observe in your time, be it regulatory, political? Obviously technology is a big one, I would say.
Technology, everything from like manual typewriters, adding machines, all those sort of things headed up through electric stuff and then through into accounting machine, into computers and that. So like we're sort of ruled by computers these days. But when I first started work, everything was manual and it was written, like handwritten. Our rate books would have been like opened up, would be nearly the size of this table, and they were all handwritten and used to have to re-handwrite them every 2 or 3 years because they'd have those half pages they used to have in those days. They'd have those in which you could sort of do, but the rate books were all handwritten, and so were the receipts and expenditure for all the stuff. They had big books almost the same size, and they all had to be handwritten. We had, at Esk, when I first started, they had financial divisions, which meant that every division was like a little council. And so everything had to go into slots to be Division 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was 5 divisions. And then there was a pro rata column. And if it wasn't attributed to a particular division, you had to put it pro rata in that. And then at the end of the month, you totted her up. And it was a percentage, I think it was 20%, 25%, 22%, 20% and 22%, but it added up to 100 anyhow, whatever it was. And you had to sort of do that at the end to actually balance everything off.
Can imagine the number of staff would have been quite different to what it is now.
Yes, well there was too, because I think as far as staff was concerned, there was there's a Shire Clerk, the Deputy Shire Clerk, and there was a Senior Clerk, a Cost Clerk, and me.
Yeah.
And then there was an engineer and a health inspector. Yeah. So, but for actual physical work in office administration, there wasn't too many. Like if you didn't do it, no one else could do it.
Yeah, right, of course, that makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah.
So that was good. Photocopiers were another invention. The first time we had a photocopier in Ayers, if I remember correctly, you had 3 pages to put in. It was like a film on the front, the original behind it, and then where it was going to end up being printed on the next one. Yeah. And you sort of had to feed this through, and it sort of took the photo. And then you'd have to take the original out, feed it back through again to actually get your copy. So.
But technology has been great as progress, but with that has its problems as well, right? So.
And you use a lot of carbon paper if you want copies of things. And we had what we called either a gestetner or like a duplicator, and a gestetner which sort of cut a master, and the ink was pushed through it onto that. And there was another sort where it sort of created an impression, and it came from the back sheet. You had 2 sheets of that one, and the back sheet was like a carbon type thing, which then it fed through a white spirit.
And it smelt great. What
So
about some regulatory and political changes that you've seen? I know you touched on it with, from being moving towards the title of CEO. And I know you touched on that you feel that probably wasn't the best idea to go with, or am I wrong in that?
Well, I think the first one probably was that they started early on talking about uniform chart of accounts, and then leading into accounting and things like that. And I was all for that, because that meant that you could sort of compare councils a bit, because they were all treating things the same sort of way. I didn't appreciate, or like, I shouldn't say appreciate, I didn't like Professor Hilmer and his report, because it wasn't only local government, his was federal, state and local government, but he's the guy responsible for all the difficulties I reckon that local government has now, is because they're trying to treat them as a business, and they're not a business. You can't sell a road, no matter what you like. I've yet to see somebody who's going to buy a road. And you had to value roads and all this sort of stuff. And I think that was so wrong. Everything had to be done as if you're going to make a profit from it. And I don't think local governments were set out to make profits. They were set out to be the spokespeople of the community, to do things the community wanted, not to do things to make profits. So I didn't like that at all. Party politics in local government, there's not a lot of that now, but when I went to, wasn't until I got to Maryborough where I first struck it. It was probably there in the background, but Maryborough actually had a party political council when I went there, and I thought that that was very interesting, because you had 2 groups of people who, like the people in power and the opposition, and they, went their separate ways and had their different meetings and all this. They all had to come back, of course, to a committee meeting and all that sort of thing. But I think one of your other questions talked about that sort of, one of the things that I raised about it. But what I will say, and we'll say it now, and probably say it again later, is that it's part of building up trust and things like that. And especially when I got, while I was deputy, I had it as the same. But when I became the town clerk or the city administrator, you build up the trust with all these members. And I thought that when I went to a general council meeting, I was probably the only person in that room who knew everything that was going to be raised at that council meeting, because both of the parties, the ones in power and the opposition, trusted me enough to tell me what they were going to do and how they were going to do it, and they knew that they could trust me, and that I wouldn't tell the other side, because it's not good, is it?
No, yeah.
So I think that's a big change, because there is still some party politics, but not a lot, only in the really big places.
Can you share a key highlight of your career?
when I was made the local government manager of the year for large councils in 2003. With LGMA. That's probably the biggest highlight of the whole lot. To me personally.
Yes.
Because I thought that was good, because it was judged by the LGMA, and they also had other people in, I think, as referees. All this sort of thing to help them make decisions, and to be awarded that from your peers, I thought was very good.
Yeah, wonderful. Well deserved. Can you share a low light of your career?
What did I think of as a low light?
You haven't had any.
That's it. I had a lot of trouble actually.
Oh, good.
I'll tell you what I'm going to say though is I only have to read the local paper to find out what I'm supposed to have done the previous day, and probably one of the hardest things to cope with is the public attack on the person. And I've learned to live with this, because the criticism is unwarranted 99.9% of the time, and I know that most people that know me, they don't take a lot of notice at all, and especially the ones who know you and who know all the circumstances. But it does affect the family members, your wife and your children. But I've been lucky; they've been very supportive all along. But that's probably the biggest low light, is being attacked in the local media for something that's probably not your fault anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And no one really knows the intricacies that go behind things that happen, decisions,
That's right.
and it's never black and white. Ever. Yeah, that's a good point. As a CEO, what worked for you?
I reckon it was probably unbiased and building support and rapport with the staff and the mayor and the elected councillors. I had a good working relationship with the elected people. The mayor, I think I went through 9 mayors in different towns that I worked with, and I believe that I had really good working relationship with all of them. And with the elected people, I reckon with most of them, I would have had a fairly good working relationship. You've got to build up a sort of a trusting relationship, and as I said before, building up a relationship, if there's any party politics in it, is a little bit harder. But you can do it, but you've got to be honest, and you've got to be able, and I was always in a place where I could say what I thought. They made every decision. They made the decisions by council decisions, and if they made it and it wasn't what I wanted, it still got carried out. Because they made the decision. But I was lucky enough to be able to give my opinion. And
freely give it with it,
because you were trusted. Sort of building up that trust, I think, is a very thing. And I made a comment which when I was talking about the party politics and knowing what's going on and all this sort of thing, and being trusting, and I've got an analogy that it's a bit like having 1 foot each side of a barbed wire fence. One slip up could be quite painful.
I like that. That's very good.
But you learn to do it. You learn to do it, and I still think that a lot of it comes from when you're very young, and the training you get, and like as I said, through my father and the early shy clerk and deputies and things like that. As you work your way up, you learn to do what to do, and also the fact that my dad, especially my dad, but also my dad and my grandfather, were elected people, and you got to know how they thought and how they reacted to things. And whilst it wouldn't have been much when you're young, like 15-year-old or something, when you first started, or a bit before that, I suppose, when I first started relating to that, it sinks in.
It absorbs.
Thank
you for that. What did you have to change about yourself along the way?
I don't reckon I had to change much at all, to tell you the truth.
Authenticity.
I think, as I said, as I touched on before, my father and my grandfather gave me that insight into elected member, and that's been invaluable in the career, in my belief, because I was looking at things as a purely administrative function, but also looking at things as, hey, what are the councillors going to think about this? And really invaluable. So
really well-rounded kind of approach. Yeah.
And I had a really good staff built up around me too, and that, and having the trust of the staff, you have to learn, of course, to take their advice and especially listen to it. Take it if it's good. But I think I was very, very lucky that I had a heck of a lot of good staff all the way through.
Yeah, it's priceless too. What has been the most difficult part of your role? I think you touched on one of the things before.
I touched on the media bit, You can't please all the people all the time.
So
no matter
true.
what. And if it's your decision and you say no, you have to be prepared to say no, but you also have to be prepared to give reasons why and all that. And then, as I touched on before, sometimes you don't get that chance. Sometimes if it's a council decision or something and you're only conveying it, you get the blame, and the media gets all mixed up, and you end up getting personally attacked for something that you really had nothing to do with. And that hurts a bit. So that's difficult, but you've got to work your way through it.
The best thing about having a local government career?
I think it's very interesting because you get to know something new happening every day. You don't always know what it's going to be, but it sure fills the day. There's so many different projects that are involved that you would not come across if you weren't involved, especially at a senior level in local government. So I think that that's a great thing. And the other thing is meeting all the different sorts of people. I've met, royalty, governors general, governors, premiers, prime ministers, all those sorts of people, but also very important business people, men, women, all doing different things, small, large business. But then there's just normal people. You meet lots and lots of normal people like you and I. And I think that's the best part. It's that variety from royalty to anybody else, to people like me and you. That's a great thing.
My mind is just rushing there. It's like, tell me more about all these people that you meet. We don't have time. I'm going to have to talk to you a bit later after the luncheon. So, another question.
I'll just tell you a story about the Duchess. She just died, actually.
And
that was the one who actually came out, the Duchess again.
Yes.
Who came out to open our administration centre. And I had to, we had a flood actually before that, only a few days or a week before it, and so we had to change the itinerary completely, so she got to the flood and that. So the mayor took a guided tour and all that, and then I had to meet her at the administration centre and show her around and all that sort of thing, which I did. And then we were sitting on the sort of steps at the front of the hall where we were going to do this ceremony, and we're sitting down. We had a town crier, and the bell and that, and he'd been with us for years. He was a good bloke, Reg Lade. And when the time came to start it all up, he had to sort of, get everyone to be quiet. There were quite a few hundred people there, and he was ringing the bell and all that. And then, he had to introduce me because I was sort of the MC of the job, and he starts off and does his bit, and he wants to introduce you to the chief executive, or city minister. No, chief executive, I would have been then. And anyhow, he got real nervous and forgot my name. And he goes, Noel, and Noel, and then about the third time, about hundreds of people outside yelled out, Gorrie! And he was right. He was so embarrassed about it, but these things happen, don't they?
Yeah, it does.
But it just so happened to be in front of the Duchess, and she thought it was a great joke. She was telling us later. She said, "You are well known."
That's a lovely, awesome response. That's fabulous. That's wonderful. I'll expand on that as we talk over lunch. It's lovely. As I know, we touch on how it's changed and how the government's changed. What would you like to see moving forward for future generations in local government? That wasn't on the list of questions, was it?
That's a bit difficult. I think there has to be a bit more recognition of what local government actually does and what actually means to the community. And I think there has to be recognition that it's not a political thing. Like most people, they want to make it the same as the feds and the state, and I don't believe it is. I believe they're too close to the people. The council is too close to the people to be tangled up in all these different political ideologies, whether they're good or bad. They shouldn't be tangled up in them, and I'd like to see that taken away a bit, and there more decisions and everything made on a basis where people are involved, lots of people, and that was like another thing. It was part of the questions, getting to know and people getting to know you. I used to have to be, not have to be, but was asked to be the MC or in charge of a lot of the things that the council put on, but that got the people to know me, and they could feel at ease to come and talk to me or ring me and all this sort of thing. And I think that everybody needs to be at ease with the community, and I'd like to see that more of that sort of thing in the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's about it at this stage. Yeah.
The final question. That was the final question. No, last one. And I don't think this is on the list either, so I'm going to throw it out there for you. How has LGMA served you and the councils throughout your career? I'm sorry.
Well, I've always liked the LGMA and the various names because they've always been there to help. And you do get to know, by going to conferences and things like that, you do get to know the CEOs and the deputies usually in other areas. And that makes it a lot easier because you're not the only one to have a problem. A similar sort of problem could have been somewhere else. And you hear about these and they go over at the time, but they stick in the mind. And I found it really good that you could go and talk to somebody or ring them up. When there's no conferences, you just ring them up and see and have a chat to somebody. And I found it very, very good. I really did appreciate the things that they did. As for councils, we've had the LGMA, actually when I was there, we had them do some training things for councillors and that, and yeah, that was fine. They don't have anywhere near as much rapport with the LGMA as say I would, or other CEOs. But no, I think they're quite a good organisation, and it changed over the years too. Like there used to be one person. Used to be one person, not now.
Well, we've grown. So not one person can do it all anymore. Well, that's it for the day. Thank you so much again, Noel, for your time today. And this will go up on the internet so for everyone to see and learn from for future generations. And again, thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you at the conference and the luncheon. And all the best, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Gorrie.